Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightened Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlightened Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to this inspiring episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I am your host, Jen, and today my guest is Katja Rusanen, who is a #1 best-selling author, spiritual counselor, and story coach. With over a decade in the field, she specializes in helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs break free from limiting stories and achieve their full potential. Her unique blend of practical and spiritual guidance delivers fast results. Katja holds a doctoral degree in spiritual science as well as 2 master's degrees in spiritual psychology and spiritual science. These qualifications give her a deep understanding of human behavior, the transformative power of the mind, and soul awareness. Committed to empowering others, Katja loves guiding her clients towards succeeding on purpose. So take a nice, deep, conscious breath in and let's dive in. Dr. Katja Rusanen, welcome to the Enlightened Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Katja, tell me, what inspired you to get up this morning?
I'm always excited to have a new day. It is a gift, I believe. And especially in my journey, there was moments when I wasn't excited of the gift of life, but now I am. And I feel like I'm catching up with those years when I wasn't too excited. So now I'm like, yes, I got another opportunity to serve and support others and inspire, hopefully, people and hopefully your all audience too.
I love that. I love that. Tell us about the work that you do, because you're in a really amazing space. Obviously, you're a doctor. You're a story coach, you're a spiritual counselor. Tell us about the incredible work that you do.
Yeah, I love helping spiritual entrepreneurs to overcome their limiting inner stories so that they can really succeed on purpose. Because often people who have gone through challenging life experiences or trauma, they may get stuck in those stories and they start hindering our process of going for our dreams, like really allowing ourselves to use our full potential. I don't know if you have ever experienced the little voice in your head that might say, I'm not good enough, or it's not possible, or whatever that might be. But it is possible to start changing those old stories, because those voices come from some life event, most likely. And then we can rewrite those stories so that they support you as you are going for your dreams.
Yes, this is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Awesome.
And isn't it interesting, when you start to learn about how this works, I find in my journey and, working as a coach, working with clients, and even in my own, personal experience, when you understand something about your own psyche and you have the power to change it, you feel so empowered. You feel as though, oh my gosh, I've cracked the code. I've hacked life. I've figured it out now. And I honestly feel like you said, with getting up in the morning, you get a second lease on life. You understand things from a completely different perspective. Let's talk about the journey of how someone would get there, because I truly feel that sometimes, we really just have to hit rock bottom in order to have that breakthrough. And one of my favorite quotes is by J.K. Rowling, which is rock bottom became the solid foundation in which I rebuilt my life. And I resonate so deeply with that. Tell me, in your, professional experience, Katja, what does that generally look like for people that come to you? Have they hit rock bottom? Are they kind of just coasting along rock bottom and hitting all the rocks and falling apart, and then you come along and like, hey, let me teach you this? What does that look like?
So often I work with spiritual entrepreneurs, so they have this calling in their heart. They really want to be in service. They really want to do something good in the world or raise awareness, but then they struggle. And they have this like, I so want to be in service, but I struggle with the building my business and getting clients so I can really do the work that I feel called to do in the world. And that then starts building the frustration, self-doubt. And often there is also some stored emotion that they haven't yet processed, even though they are often coaches and healers. But sometimes they still have the things they kind of backed away, and I don't want to deal with those things. And then they also struggle to take action. So that is the what I call a triangle that I do. It is often the mind. What are the thoughts in their mind? Then what are the emotions? And also the actions. What are the actions they do or don't do? And then seeing all that from what I call source perspective, from spiritual perspective, that can help them to figure out what are they learning through these experiences, so then they can move forward. So often it is, yes, in some sort of rock bottom. Still, it seems like we need to go there in order for us to say, yes, I need help. At least I did that. I needed to really go like, either I quit or I seek help. And then I decided to seek help. And when the student is ready, the teachers appear.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you're speaking to my soul here. I resonate with that so deeply. So people that are struggling with their goals and their dreams, what are they struggling with the most? What are they coming to you? If they're already in the space of, spiritual entrepreneurship, if they're already coaching or if they're healers, what are you finding is perhaps a common theme among the people that come to see you?
I have helped a lot of people with visibility. Like, even though they have these gifts, there is something putting their work out there to social media. And some people even have like, I don't like social media. And I'm like, why? It's an awesome place. You can share your work for free. But it is that blockage that they have for being visible because it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel that they can share openly, or then it feels overwhelming. Who I need to share everything versus sharing something. So that is one of the key areas that a lot of people come to me with, because that's been something they hear this message. You need to share your work on social, and then they're like, oh, I can't press that button to publish. And that leads them to work with me.
Yeah, and so is it that they're experiencing an inner story or an inner dialogue that do they know directly, generally, where it's related to? Is it because they've had this fear of visibility? Is it growing up? They've been told, that they're not good enough, or they've taken on a belief system. Where are you finding that these stories are coming from?
They can come from this life, like you said, experiences early on. Maybe there was a parent or caregiver that said, stay out of sight, or just be quiet, and then we really take it on board and we carry it for years and years. Or it might come, even if you believe past life, it might come from there. Some lives might be didn't end that well when you were sharing your message. And then you were like, it's not safe now to share my message. That's especially healers seem to have that a lot. Like it's really old often. but they are still carrying that fear of sharing their work openly.
Yes, I'm actually a past life regression therapist, and so
Ah,
yeah,
that's a
there's a lot
good.
that comes through from our past lives. There's, especially for women, there's a lot around the witch wound, and
Mhm.
experiences that a lot of people are having in this lifetime. They know that at deep down, we've all got that witch energy where we're connected to nature, where we can connect to our gifts. And that's why I guess we see so many beautiful souls in this lifetime coming forward. We now have the platforms, to be able to use our gifts. We are not, burnt at the stake or beheaded for it. Not anyone
Mhm.
that I know anyway. And we
Yeah.
have this chance, but we have this cellular memory deep within us that reminds us, that we're not safe,
Yeah.
that spoken out before, and we've been persecuted for that. Tell me, let's dive there, because I'm all about those past lives, and I'm all about, finding out what those wounds are. Where
Mhm.
are you seeing this show up for women the most?
It is that deep feeling that it's not safe, and I had to deal with that myself as well. I know where my clients are as well, like really feeling it's not safe for me, and somebody comes after me if I do share, and that then plays in different roles, like whether it is that's being visible on social media, whether it is sharing your offers and invitations when it comes to doing your work, whether it is putting something in writing. I sometimes work with authors as well, and then they get writer's block because they are like, oh no, I can't share this work because it shouldn't be shared that way. It's not safe to be shared. So it is so many different ways, and sometimes they are. I think it's easier to work on when it's really like a big fear. Then it's easier to see it. But if it's this subtle, like hesitation to share, for example, making a social media post, then often people think it's this procrastination, that it's something that they don't then take it that seriously to find help with that. But it can be rooted into some past life or this life experience that is holding them back and hindering their efforts to share their gifts.
So anyone listening to this that's resonating to what you're saying, going, yes, I've got, I'm a healer, I'm a coach. I want to be seen, but I'm too scared to put my work out there. I'm too scared to write the book. I'm too scared to share my new program.
Mhm.
What is it that you would say to them?
So I would often start with that story because I believe we all are storytellers. We tell stories all the time within us. So, what is the story that you are telling within you? And maybe it's what would happen if you do share. That might be a story. Or maybe it's a story about what you think you are that prevents you from sharing. Or maybe it's a story about the world. Maybe the world is unsafe and people come after you if you share. So just getting more aware, I believe awareness is the key. So becoming more and more aware what's happening first of all in your mind. What are the thoughts that you have? What are the stories that you tell? So that would be a starting point if people are thinkers, but if you are more a feeler, if you feel more than that's your uh, way to sense things more, then it would be like checking in. What do I feel when I even think about pushing that button? So, what comes to your body? And it is again finding that spot where you might have the unresolved emotion. And yes, it takes courage to allow yourself to feel into it. but that is often the quickest way in a safe environment, having the support you need to start processing what's there. So those are two different routes, and they kind of, you start with one and then you go to the another, but depending whether you like to think, whether you like to feel, so start with whatever resonates with you most.
Yeah, amazing. Tell me, what sort of time frame do you generally see the people that you work with be able to transmute these stories into empowerment? Is it something, do you do a single session? Is this something that they have to work on if it's quite a deep wound? What does the time frame look like?
I think the time frame, I do work from 3 months to a year. It really depends of the divine timing, because the healing is possible. I know that, but sometimes we hold on to our stories and we resist to let go of them and transform them. But it can be real quick or it can take some time, but it is possible. And the journey is to really, normally use 5-step method to work through these stories, to find that lesson you have learned through these experiences. And I believe that's the key, because then we will be able to start seeing the situation or the event in a different light. And that changes the how we relate to those things from the past. And that changes everything.
Yeah, I love that so much. So tell me, Dr. Katja, how did you discover that this was your calling? What's your story that led you to this, to doing this work?
Yeah, that is a good question. And I needed to go to one of my rock bottom moments when I was just 16 years old. And you know, the first love, when you fall in love for the first time, and all of a sudden the sun is shining and the birds are singing and everything is fantastic. And I fell in love with this boy, and unfortunately, my love story did not have the happily ever after. It ended very suddenly when I heard the news that he had died by suicide.
Whoa.
And that really shattered my heart. I felt like my life ended too at that moment, as I just felt that overwhelming grief. And my mind was just going over and over the situations, what we have shared and what we have said, and trying to find like why did this happen? And I'm very intuitive, so I was started to blame myself. I should have seen this coming. I should have somehow been able to prevent this coming, and guilt is really heavy. And that guilt put me into such a dark place that I was almost taking my own life, because I just wanted that pain to end. And luckily, on the 11th hour, there was a moment that just light came into me, and I knew I needed to turn back, and I chose life. And that choice started my own healing journey through the grief and the trauma, and just finding my way out of that darkness. And this whole experience was so painful for me that as I chose life and started moving on, I locked all these memories and I didn't want to talk about them. I just was numbing myself, because that was my coping mechanism back then, to be able to move forward. And for 15 years, I kind of did not want to talk about this chapter. And then I was in crossroads in life. I was like thinking, where do I go from here? And as it's normal to go to a palm reader when you're in a crossroads. So I went to a palm reader, and he was saying many accurate things. And then he asked me, why don't you write? And when he asked that question, I just knew that he knows I have a story to tell. And I knew exactly what story that is. And that night I went back home and I started writing. And the writing journey was so healing because it helped me to start seeing that life didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And I was really clearing and cleaning that wound. So I was able to really start healing. And while I was writing this story, and it was a fictional story, but it was based on the core event that I went through, I got this spark of inspiration that our stories have the power to help others. Because when we discover the lessons we have learned and we share them, we are serving others. And that got me into finding the courage, first of all, to share with one person my story. And that was in a very safe environment because I was studying that time, be a spiritual life coach. So I shared there with one person, and I felt this connection that I had never felt before, because before I had all these walls to protect myself. And then I opened it up and I shared my journey, and that person was so compassionate, so kind. And that gave me courage then to share with a few more people and then in a small group. And now I'm in a place where I can share openly. And it's been a journey, but it really sparked when I realized that our stories really matter and they can help somebody. I wanted to help somebody who was in that dark place. And I was thinking, if this story could help, that I'm writing, this fictional story could help somebody, that 16-year-old me who was going through that dark times, because I did not want to have help. But if the book could help somebody like me, that would be worth sharing. And that has really inspired me then to help people to share their transformational stories and also transforming those inner stories that are holding them back. So I do both the inner and the outer.
Wow, what an incredible journey you've been on. Oh, that's a lot, isn't it, for someone, so young to have to comprehend. And, like you said, you go into this dark place, you question everything. And, as you mentioned, it almost took your life because
Yeah.
the pain was so deep. And you've been able to take that pain, to take your story and use it to help others. And what a beautiful gift that is. How does that feel? Like, is obviously, at this, at that age when you lost your partner at the time, that wasn't the vision of the trajectory of your life.
Oh.
When he was alive, did you know what you wanted to do with your life? I mean, did you see yourself as a writer, or did you see yourself doing something completely different?
I That time I didn't have that huge dreams. I had just started karate, so that was something I was wanted to compete in karate. So, but there wasn't any big dreams that one day I do this kind of work. I think there wasn't even label of coach that time. It was more sports coach if there was a coach. But now I see that everything that happened in my journey has really helped me to come to this place to be able to have compassion and support, being able to support others who might have gone through some challenging experiences. And I do hope always that they haven't gone through something that I did go through. And it is not, I know my story is really extreme, it's life and death story, but we all have our own challenges in life that we need to navigate through so that we can share our gifts in the world. And wherever you are, just know that there is a way through.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Tell us what the fictional book is about.
So it was a story about a 15-year-old girl called Renate, and she also goes through hard loss of a loved one. And then it was her journey, how she found help and support and recovery.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. And what is it that you're, is there a common theme that you're noticing in clients coming through in the world at the moment? Is there, we talked about, the visibility wound essentially. Are
Mhm.
you noticing any other sort of recurring themes or patterns that people are experiencing in this day and age at the moment? Especially, we were talking about social media before, and you're saying, social media is great. You've got to be seen. It's a free platform, and there's a lot of detrimental stuff that can happen on social media as well. And there's a lot of people
Mhm.
pulling back, going, well, it's too noisy, or there's too much backlash, or it's so PC that I can't say what it is that I want to say in order to speak my truth. Is there any patterns or themes that you're seeing recurring with the people that come to see you?
I see that there is more and more the urgency to share the work that they feel called to do. It feels like it's activated somehow. It's like I got to get my work out. I need to figure out my how I can reach the people I'm meant to serve here. I feel that is increasing. Like we are like, okay, now is the time. This is the time, and this is the reason why you are here. So let's get our work out to the world. So it is really the time to do that healing work, because it really, I believe it's time. We have been waiting for this moment, and the moment is here. So we need to start doing the work we really feel called to do in our hearts.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I feel as though, like, when I reflect on my journey coming to earth, I'd love to know, like, if I went into the, I've done some Akashic records work, but if I went into the
Uh-huh.
Akashic records and on my soul contract it says, okay, all right, look, I'll go to earth, I'll go and do this work. However, what I'm going to need is I'm going to need a platform that, like, I can reach a lot of people really quickly. I'm going to go at the time where, it's going to be free. It's going to be accessible. It's going to be new. I want to be part of social media and the rise of it. I've been around since social media was there. I feel like, and as you were talking about, like, it's all happening for me, you know,
Mhm.
so I truly believe, like, if I went back into the Akashic records, read the soul contract, it would all make sense. Of like, oh, okay, well, that's why I'm here now. I feel like I was saying this to a friend the other day. I feel like I've signed up for a front row seat of the Great Awakening, and of
Yeah.
course I have. I mean, it just aligns with my personality so much. I'm like, I'll go to Earth. I'll do it. I'll do the work. I'll
Yes.
one of the healers. I will support people in their own awakening. I'll go through the darkness of that I have to go through to wake up, and I'll support other people through that. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I get here and I'm like, fuck, this is a big job.
Really?
What have I signed up for?
I totally get that. Like sometimes I'm thinking the same thing. Like, really? Did I sign up for this? Yes, I did. Okay, let's.
Constantly, constantly. And this is, I guess this is, the beauty of life, isn't it? Because we get
Mhm.
to experience so much in this short period of time. And I don't know about you, but I feel like everything's amplified lately. I feel like there's,
Mhm.
like, all of the experiences and the lessons that we're going through, they're on steroids. They're just, it's like they're relentless, and it's hard to determine whether we're just more conditioned to it, or that because our collective consciousness is going through this shift and going through this awakening, that things feel like they're speeding up, or that, I mean, we don't really have anything else to compare it to unless we do these past life regressions where we go back and we lived much more simpler lives. What's your perspective on all of this? What the fuck is going on in the world?
Well, I feel as well like the things definitely have accelerate like it, and that brings that feeling of urgency. Like it's time. And I kind of enjoy that, like the energy that is coming through, but sometimes it's feels a lot like, whoa. But then I'm like, okay, I can handle this because this energy was given to me for a reason. So it is just for me calming my mind, like, and telling myself I can do this. And I feel that's also a message for many, like, yes, there is a lot of moving parts and things go faster, but I feel also that we can handle it. But it's again a lot to do with the mindset. If we go into the panic mode, then it comes overwhelming. And this is a time as well where the support is so needed. Like, let's support each others so that we can do the work here, so that we have the community that understands and supports you on your journey, because you are not alone. And that's one of my lessons I have learned on this journey. Like, you don't need to do this journey on your own. You were not even born here on your own. There is always been other people. So let's connect, let's collaborate, let's support each others, because I believe together we shine brighter.
Oh, it's so true, isn't it? And this is what I love about social media. Like you and I connected through social media.
Yes.
That's how we found each other. I've made so many friends. You know, my business has been built through social media, through that. And like, yes, we're seeing a lot of changes where, you know, it can be very noisy, but I think it's also, you know, when used in a supportive manner, it can be really, really helpful. I'm curious to hear from you. What are your thoughts now that we're seeing the rise of AI and the rise of robots? Like, where do you think we're heading with that? Let's go there.
Yeah, I feel that it can be very supportive because that was, again, it was allowed to be brought forward at this time. It is another way to accelerate things. Like, I help people writing their origin story, and I realized that was a huge block for many people. Not everyone are writers like me. Like, it's easy for me to write a story, but for many, that was such a struggle. They were like, I don't know how to start, and like, I can't put a sentence together that goes smoothly. And now what I do, I help like pick the highlights of the story, the key points. I put it on the AI, define, of course, their style and tone and all that. But the AI writes the story in minutes. And then they can, of course, modify it to match the language and tone even more, but it just happens so much faster, as well as you can use it as a brainstorming tool. So there is a lot of good opportunities. Of course, you need to be still in the driver's seat. And I think that's where a lot of people might go wrong when they just trust blindly whatever AI gives. You need to still be in charge and say, like, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't sound aligned. Try again. And just checking as well. You just need to fact check things. It's a machine, but
Yeah.
it can support and make things faster.
Yes, it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot of people for and against it. And I'm with you. Like I feel like it can be a very supportive tool. I call Chat GPT that I use my soulful PA. And I have a
Yeah.
conversation, like I'll talk to him and be like, okay. And I truly believe that it's like this, you know, this gift from the divine that's come through that's like supported me to write things, you know, and
Hmm.
it's nothing to do with my like my personal story or, you know, things from my heart, but I can definitely drop things into there to articulate. And for example, like even podcast show notes, you
Yeah.
know, to be able to download the transcript of our conversation, pop that into Chat GPT and say, write me the show notes. That used to take me hours in the last season. I'd
Yeah.
like listen to every recording back again and go through, and I would make notes, and I loved it. but it was very, very time consuming. And then towards the end of last season, I was like, oh, I wonder if I can like try putting the transcript into ChatGPT. And I was like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Like this takes 2 seconds. What even is it? So I'm truly like receiving it as a gift.
Yeah.
And I'm also being really, really mindful not to handle all of my expectation power over to it. I set the settings for it the other day to speak like I do, to use
Mhm.
the keywords that I use in my business and how I articulate language.
Yes.
And I'll put something in and it throws something back. I'm like, wow. Like I'm an author, I'm a writer, and I can't even articulate sometimes this well. So I think it's an amazing tool to use alongside the gifts that we already have.
Mhm.
And I can also see like if what we experience now with like Chat GPT, for example, I didn't even know this thing was coming out. Then all of a sudden it was here. And all of a sudden everyone was like Chat GPT, Chat GPT. And it is so sharp and it's such a powerful tool. And if that's the start, holy shit, we're in for a ride. Holy shit. And I truly feel as though, yes, it can be a supportive tool, and we're going to see a lot of disconnection from our heartfelt message, because it is so much easier. I could put in there, write me 10 social media posts on XYZ, speak like me,
Mhm.
and it does it. And I feel as though, like, if I was to put that out into the world, I wouldn't resonate with it because my energy isn't. And I'm such an energetic person.
Yeah.
And when I write from my heart. I connect with my own soul and my own life experience to share that. And that's not going to come through on, a bot. Where do you
Yeah.
see this going?
Yeah, and I think there you mentioned interesting thing because I'm a writer as well, so I write from my heart. And as you can hear, I'm non-native English speaker, so for me, it's been amazing tool to grammar check, like fix
Of
my
course.
grammar. But I feel that this is really, there are so many different ways, most likely, that we can start using, whether it's AI in different ways. And I think now, as this first level came forward, I think it's again like the opening the doors that people can start thinking what else is possible. Because before this, even like when internet came and then now this, it was like, whoa, this is all possible. So I feel like now within this coming year, I think there's amazing things that can come true. And I think my mind can't even imagine all the things that are possible through AI.
Yeah, it's a bit exciting too, isn't it? Like, I mean, seriously, as we were saying before, like, what a time to be alive. Of course, we incarnated now. Let's get the front row seat to all the cool stuff happening.
Yes.
Tell me, what is it that people can do when they're feeling that niggle? They've got that inner voice. They know that, that they've got an incredible story to share, or a product as a healer or a coach or an inspirational speaker. They've got that inner block essentially. They've listened to this conversation. They're like, "Oh my God, you're speaking to my soul here." What's the next step for them? How do they go into this and discover what that is? Do they need a coach or, a support person? Is it something they can do on their own?
I think they can do it on their own, but sometimes, especially when there is fear involved, we don't want to go there. Like, it's like if you ever burnt your hand as a child on a hot stove, you don't do that again if absolutely you can avoid it. And this is the thing when fear is involved, we don't want to go there. And that's why we have those unresolved things, unresolved emotions, because we don't want to go there. And that's where a coach or counselor comes into place, because they can hold the safe space and the light for you to explore things that you might not go on your own. So that's the essence why I always recommend having support, even when you have ability to help others in something similar. Often we don't want to do it for ourselves on our own. So giving yourself that gift to have support. And if you want to get started on your own, that's totally fine. I most likely would have done in the past the same. I was always like, I'm smart, I can figure things out. So I have actually, if it's okay to share, I have a gift that has my 5-step method, how you can get started with the work. I share 3 common inner stories that can hold people back from reaching their potential and purpose. And then I have this 5-step method that you can start applying to start rewriting those old limiting stories. So that is for you if you feel that I want to do it. I want to do this on my own. I want to figure this out on my own. So you can get my guide, and then I'd love to also, of course, support and serve anyone who is willing to take that next step.
Oh, that's amazing. We will link to that in the show notes. We'll link to that free resource. Thank you so much for that. I have one more question for you. And to you, what is the meaning of life?
I believe we are here for learning. Like, we are souls having this human experience, and we can use everything for our growth, upliftment, and learning. And as we learn, we just evolve. We have then the greater perspective, we have the lessons we gather from this lifetime, and we can use them for service.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Dr. Katja, thank you so much for joining me on the Enlightenment podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightenment podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightenment_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightenment, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.